Hey guys, it's Saru, and I'm sorry that it took so long to create this guide. Quite frankly, I didn't really know if I wanted to make it or not, so I kinda kept it all to myself. But on my social media, you guys were asking for guides for this and Democron Factory Hard. I'm surprised no one said Sky Cruiser, which is probably better for me, quite frankly. Anyways, before I begin, if you guys want to converse or just suggest videos that I should make, remember to use the comments below or follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Sarumonin for easier chat. Alternatively, you can hang out in my Discord, which the link is in the description below. So let's get right into this beautiful guide for Shadow Sanguinary Hard Mode. Now, I recommend 100% that you do the normal mode quite a few times to get to know these bosses. Their names, their wives' names, their hobbies, and all that beautiful chemistry out of the way. You'll need to learn their tells for hard mode, as essentially it's just a mode that hits harder and it's a little bit faster and just has more health. There's truly not that much of a difference in mechanics when it comes to this dungeon, but there are some. So for hard mode, the first boss will Enrage, assuming that you don't have Infuriate on, at every 20% health that he has, which should last about 35 seconds or so. You'll notice from the bar on his health glowing red. If it's red, then he is enraged. I mean, that's easy. With that out of the way, let's move on. The rush attack that he does is not blockable. Where in normal mode, you can stop him from moving when a tank does their shield, when a tank blocks, but it doesn't on this mode, it'll just move you with him. So tanks, just be aware of that. Other than that, everything just hits harder. Now the pillars. The pillars need to be destroyed. This mechanic starts at 94% and repeats every 40 to 50 seconds. In hard mode, up to 4 players can be targeted to create the pillars, so make sure that you guys are all lined up together and communicating on voice chat or something, because it'll be more essential this way. Everyone is targeted by this except the highest aggro. Yes, even you, healer. You get targeted as well. These pillars will also always shoot lasers at you, and they can cause quite a bit of damage. So you just need to get them out of the way. Just like in normal mode, use the laser phase from the boss to destroy them, and it's imperative that you do this if you don't want to wipe or make things more harder for yourself. Which, speaking of which, the last thing is the shield phase. Everything is the same, just break the shield, use your buffs, and all that jazz. The only difference being that if you try to resurrect after he wipes, he'll just keep wiping over and over and over again, so there's really no way to bypass it except to get out. Now the next boss, Decurion. Oh, you silly man. So everything's practically the same thing, but there are a few things that are different. So in hard mode, the blue pizza slice phase, for example, will occur at 90, 70, 50, and 30%. The thing to note is that at 50 and 30%, the blue pizza will not show up on the screen. It'll just be grayed out, so you'll need to pay further attention as to where you're going. The mobs do spawn at 95, 75, 55, and 35%. Basically, more and more mobs will spawn per the phase, so just keep that in mind. A person can be targeted up to 3 times with the laser that he'll do with this phase, so just lure the laser to the mobs and you'll be good, or just iframe it and block it, whatever you decide to do, I guess. The most important thing is to make sure that you destroyed these mobs. I would suggest to stop the DPS and just kill the mobs as fast as possible, because the boss will have a barrier around him to just mitigate any attacks, so just make sure you're doing that quickly. The light bulbs, which is the blue balls that go around the arena, it's a little bit different. Instead of 4 balls, which are in normal mode, it's up to 8 balls here, and it starts at 85% and onwards. You can't really destroy them at all, so just avoid them. They do about 70,000 damage, so try to avoid them as best as you can. The special mechanic in hard mode for this boss, the only thing is the lava floor. It happens at 80, 60, and 40%. Quite frankly, all you have to do is to avoid the red. You can't iframe this, and it'll do it up to 5 times, so if you get hit, you shall die. It has been prophesied. If you pay attention, there is a pattern that he does when he's doing this phase, and it's easier if you know where he's looking at, so you know where he's going to do this mechanic and kind of deduce where to avoid the red. So, I mean, just keep that in mind. The rest is the same. The burn phase is at 20%. You have to get it to 10% with 20 seconds to get him there. The rest is easy. I mean, it's simple. The last boss, who will rip you apart in case you weren't made aware by his wonderful sound, has a few different mechanics as well. I recommend as a healer running in first. Yes, before the tank, before anybody, and use your resurrect skill just like in Ruinous Manor to bait him. That'll give players some time to position themselves and basically hurt him a little bit. This resurrect bait skill, which I'll get a little bit into afterwards, you want to make sure that you always do it behind the tank, as if you do it behind the DPS won't really get back crit, so just keep that in mind as well. You can do this up to 2 times in a row per phase, so you can do them one after another. Preferably you want to do them right before he does the side swipes. It has a potential to just skip that. Which, speaking of which, in hard mode, the side swipes that he does do cause it bleed, which needs to be cleansed. You can use your brooch or you can go to a healer. So just make sure to do it quickly. This boss is pretty cleanse needy, sadly. Now with the rest skill I was just talking about, double circles will be spawned underneath you. This is fine as long as it's just you getting these, priest or mystic. All you really have to do is walk out of the first one quickly and iframe out of the second one. Like I said before, you can do it up to 2 times in a row, so make sure to time it right, and this is probably the best way to get your DPS a little more faster. That's it for that. Now shield phase. This happens at 70 and 50% if you remember correctly. The person with the highest aggro will always be targeted, so you need to run away the moment he says Decurion has a new target. You have very little time compared to normal mode to run away, so just make sure you run far and fast so the DPS do have a more viable chance to take down his shield. I mean, it's basically the same thing and it all happens the same way. If you fail to break the shield, the tank will die and he'll throw the body at somebody who's the furthest person, causing them to die as well. If you succeed, well, he doesn't die. But regardless of whether you succeed or fail, everyone will get a circle underneath them. Now the trick with this is you're going to see the ripples in the red circle inside. When it does the second ripple touching the edge, right before it does that, you want to iframe out of it. So that's just a little hint for you guys. The cage phase he does is the same. Before that, he's going to summon monsters and you want to kill them and then go into the cage. And if you're not in the cage, you're dead, yada yada. The only time that it does change up is when you're under 40% health. The cage is basically the same thing, except you're going to get this weird monster debuff icon. You need to make sure you know where it is. I'll show you on my screen, for example. You need to remove it, and the only way to remove it is to be hit by the red in the pizza slices on the cage. Now, if you're like me, you get hit regardless, so this is probably your favorite phase. So make sure you get hit only enough times to remove it. It doesn't say a number on console, which is very odd. On PC, it does kind of give a number, but on here, it doesn't. It just will disappear, which is really dumb. But anyways, it'll disappear once you've hit it enough times, giving you just enough time to iframe out of the last one, I guess. Now the only thing here is, like, again, you don't know how many stacks you have, so you can have 4 or 5, you can have 3, you can have 2 or 1. If you don't remove it entirely after the phase, you're gonna die. So be hit 5 times, 4 times, just make sure that the icon disappears. And if it disappears, just do the phase continuously. If it's just once, then just do it continuously, and I mean, that's it. Just don't die, basically. Now, targeting mode. It's the same as Ruinous Manor with Lakalith, with the whole Fate phase in the sense that somebody shouldn't get the debuff twice. But basically, he'll pound his weapon on the ground twice, which will suck everybody into him. The person that's closest to him after he's done this will get a debuff that lasts 2 minutes. If you get 2 stacks of this debuff, you're dead. DPS should always get this and not the tank, and if they can't, then the healer should. If by some chance you do get 2 stacks, he'll stab you and beat you up in an animation that you can't really do anything about, but it's actually really funny to see. And then he'll fling you at the furthest party member. You want to make sure you coordinate this pretty quickly, because basically it'll potentially kill you both. However, the furthest person can iframe out of it, just leaving you, the person with a debuff, dead. So keep that in mind, and after this move, he'll do the circle attack that everybody has underneath them, and I mean, that's the same thing. Now, the last thing for this boss is the burn phase. This isn't in normal mode, so when you reach 15%, there is supposed to be a 2-minute timer that appears on your screen to destroy him. If you don't, he'll get into frenzy and become super fast and just almost impossible to kill. Now, that is from PC. And quite frankly, I haven't seen this countdown on console, but if I were you, I'd burn it down regardless, because it might be there somewhere hiding. But anyways, don't wait for the mobs, and if you're doing this run safely, kill the mobs first and then go for him. You'll have a small opportunity just to get him down to 0% fast, so I mean, that's it. Anyways guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little mechanic guide for Shadow Sanguinary hard mode. If it helped at all, make sure to like it and share it around with your friends and babysitters. Subscribe for more TERA guides and content, and as always, till next time, friends.